Greetings, everyone. My name is Iryna Manukovska, and this is Make Innovations Work. And today I'm very proud to host one of the most incredible experts in AI and behavioral science, Professor Ganna Pogrebna. She's an executive director of the AI and Cyber Futures Institute. She's lead of behavioral data science at the Alan Turing Institute. And also she's a professor of business analytics and data science at the University of Sydney Business School. Hanna, welcome. We're broadcasting in between of Europe and Australia today. So can you introduce yourself a little bit and tell about your body of work? So what kind of academics work you do and what kind of work you do for businesses?
Yeah, brilliant. Hi, Iryna. Hi, everyone. Great to be here. Thanks for inviting me. Yeah, I'm a decision theorist by training. So if you don't know who decision theorists are, we are like pretty kind of gloomy bunch in the economics field because we are trying to write theories about human behavior. Normally, the theories that we write do not work. We test them in the lab and make people make some decisions. Basically, I studied, you can say, kind of worked initially between psychology and economics. But then in 2013, I got a job in engineering school at Warwick Manufacturing Group at the University of Warwick. And since that time, my research became more and more data scientist. And now I do what is called behavioral data science or behavioral AI. So I'm basically doing pretty much everything that concerns human behavior in complex systems when people have to cooperate or need to cooperate or sometimes do cooperate without the knowledge with algorithms. So that's basically what I do.
And does the amount of data which almost any kind of company owns today helps to do this decision making and this actually behavioral prediction better, or still there are cases which simply they work in lab, during the test, but they don't work in reality?
Yeah, normally we do in my institute we do a lot of consultancy work, and the first thing that we do is we look at the business departments, and normally there are two departments, right? They're kind of very distinct in any large organization. The first is the data scientists who are normally sitting, well, they used to sit in the basement. Now they got elevated with, I guess, the development of generative AI to some top floors of the organization. And they sort of do correlations, right? So they observe decisions that customers make, for example, and they're trying to figure out how this decision is related to certain things we've done, right, in our strategy or operational tactics in the business. And then the second group is usually behavioral scientists. These are the guys who are behavioral unit or behavioral insights unit in the company, and they're interested in the why, right? So why are people doing this? So why our customers are doing this? Why have they chosen this? Why this product works better than others? Normally they don't talk to each other. Normally these two groups are completely separate. They report to different people and they don't do any work together. And the first thing that we do, we actually bring them to the same table and we start discussions, and we actually demonstrate that, by underpinning some of the data science work with behavioral theory or behavioral methods, you can actually explain a lot more and probably cut costs in some bits and pieces of your, of your strategic thinking within organization. So generally, you can make more profit and you can decrease cost. So that's what the synergy brings. And so that's very typical thing in terms of like what, where it starts in terms of business consultancy.
And one of your latest pieces you wrote for Harvard Business Review was related to digital twins. And I was impressively surprised that this technology, in terms of business modeling, not in terms of manufacturing, how it was used in previous years, that it may work and it may be beneficial even for medium-sized organizations. So here we're jumping into the core discussion of our podcast. So are we on the stage when Gen AI or any kind of AI can already run my business, so I could just receive checks or some dividends on my bank account, or the technology or humans are still needed here?
Yeah, look, first, it's a loaded question, so I'm just gonna break it into a few bits, if you don't mind. Yeah, first of all, I just want to say that this is my first HBR article, and mostly, it's due to kind of Graham Kenny and his genius. Graham Kenny is my co-author on this piece. But in terms of digital twins, I work on digital twins for many years now, and in many different, we worked with many different organizations, and there are, I think a lot of misconceptions with regard to digital twins. Well, we now say digital twins, and when you say digital twins, most of the time people imagine like 3D models of something. And we call these things digital shadows. They're not digital twins. Mm-hmm. So if I take Iryna Manukovska and break down her day or her months into bits, collect a lot of data about her behavior, I can create a 3D replica of you, right? And but this will only be the replica. It's a digital shadow. When digital shadow becomes a digital twin is if I model different situations that Iryna is facing in her daily life or in her business capacity. And I model different ways in which Iryna can react to these things, right? So, and basically the digital twinning allows us to do these complex simulations. And with these simulations, we can figure out what is the best strategy to pursue, in terms of your business decision making or even personal decision making. When I do talk about digital twins, I usually show my dog. So I had a dog that unfortunately passed away when he was 15, and he was an experimentalist dog. So he had a FeedBark device on him all the time. So FeedBark is like Fitbit only for dogs. You can put it on dog's collar, and basically it looks at dog behavior. And I have very precise data on my dog for many years. The data was collected. And in principle, even though my dog is no longer around, I can upload all this data onto a machine, right? I can upload it to a robotic dog, and it will behave exactly like my biomic dog. But obviously, I will not probably interact with, this robotic dog in the same way. And it's probably because it's just a digital shadow. It's not a digital twin, right? So it becomes a digital twin if I simulate different scenarios for this device and find out what is the best solution for my dog if it has, I don't know, separation anxiety and so on and so forth. So all these things are kind of very interesting in digital twinning, and like most of the time people imagine some just like replica of physical world, but you can do a lot of cool stuff with strategy. You can actually do simulations of experimentation for your behavioral strategy in business or for your marketing strategy. And the focus of this piece that we wrote with Graham was basically on marketing, right? So how you can sort of really make your marketing strategy very efficient with some of the generative AI and digital twinning tools.
And here, like previous years, we have a strategic plan, like 5-year strategic plan, and you had different kind of scenarios. What could go wrong? I mean, if some competitors would be more, advanced, or it's going to be economic recession, whatever. So basically, these kind of models, they can take those kind of, like, say, black swans into account as well. Why modeling? For example, I want to enter new market, and I want to test different kind of like options and what kind of risks I may expect, and not only internally, I mean, my own limitations of my company, but some external as well.
Yeah, definitely. You can model all types of risks and external factors, right? So you can model, I don't know, the next pandemic. Like, what if we go into lockdown tomorrow? What will happen to my business? Yeah, totally. You can do this. Yeah, I have to say that, yeah, there are several kind of footnotes I want to make. Like, the first one is, we in the past, we used to work on digital twins, so like these types of models that required a lot of data, lots of high quality data, probably really serious vetting on data. And this was a huge limitation because every twin was very customized to a particular use case. But with the development of generative AI, synthetic data, data now is getting better. Like organizations are getting better at vetting their data, so basically storing high quality data. So that this allows us to actually create a digital twins as a platform. Like, for example, so again, AI and Cyber Futures Institute that I lead, we are the national entity in Australia that does, so we're the go-to place for digital twins in agriculture. And we are currently developing 15 digital twins for agri-tech sector. And basically the way we do it, we just do one platform, but you can plug in different types of data, and different organizations can simulate the strategic decision making, and these strategies will lead to better decision making in their organizational structure. So yeah, I mean, now basically, yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is that now you can make these tools not only cool, but they're very accessible to organizations.
Yeah, and basically, if some kind of like a government or NGO or overall institution or like body or authority, so if this kind of company develops this kind of platform, they can all also understand. I mean, if you're talking about agriculture, there's a lot of about climate change. So, what kind of insects we may expect, what kind of like harvest prediction, and so on and so forth, and it could be used for other industries as well, because we all have like some fundamentals to share, unfortunately or fortunately.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And so I guess, in preparation for this, I was kind of trying to think what exciting stuff I can tell you from what we sort of did recently. Probably the most relevant thing that we can bring up as a use case is a study we are currently running, and that's on whether CEOs could be replaced by AI. There was a lot of, speculation about this. I saw several, I think, Forbes articles on this. It's a very hot topic. And so, I think that's, and that's kind of goes to your first point at the beginning of the podcast is, what, do we still need people? I think absolutely we need people, and we need people at every stage, from the board to the customer. Like I was recently mortified. Like I was on a panel where one of my co-panelists stood up and said, "Oh, we are working on the tools to completely replace customer surveys. So you would not use actual customers anymore. You will just generate everything with AI." And I'm like, not in a million years. Like, would you ever want to do that? Because that's the stupidest thing you can do. Like there was a major, I cannot name the company, but it's a major media company that tried to do that. And in fact this is the company that produces films and, motion pictures and all of that, documentaries and some of the TV shows. And basically they replaced, they did exactly that. They sort of just analyzed the heck out of, the trailers, and they started to generate trailers based on this analytics that they had, the synthetic data. And what happened was no one watched the trailers. Like they basically stopped watching the trailers. And this is precisely, this problem happened precisely because they didn't ask their actual customers. They stopped doing that. So yeah, like you always need the person in the loop. But yeah, like we have a study that we're currently running on CEO, so I can tell you about it if that's of interest. But yeah, the point of the study is not to replace the CEO, but to optimize the time of the CEO, right? So kind of replace the boring stuff that CEO does and increase other exciting things that CEO doesn't get to do much.
Yeah, and basically, if we here have like pretty high quality data and our algorithm is not very biased, we can help CEOs to see the blind spots, because as humans, we all have our own biases. I mean, that's what we're experiencing previous years with hiring more women, more people of color, or gender specific people into some specific job, and it was all grounded in bias. So basically, if we will help, AI can help actually to overcome different kind of like this biases and blind spots, organizational one, because it's just a data and analytics. You can't argue with that because it always have some data behind, some proofs behind. So it's not about my point versus your point.
Yeah, look, I mean, the hiring is very interesting use case because, like we have to understand that there is a human bias, but there is also algorithmic bias, right? And algorithms are trained on human data. It doesn't like fall from the sky like it. And if you have biases in your hiring decision process, you will have biases in an algorithm. The most famous use case, of course, is the Amazon hiring algorithm. So they had an algorithm that basically, I think it was for software engineering department. Basically, that department, it was a technical department where they had only males pretty much working. So the percentage of males was very high. And they trained their hiring algorithm based on the CVs of these workers there. And basically anyone who would come with, I don't know, a women's college or any, I don't know, inclusion female awards would be significantly disadvantaged in the reviewing process. And they would effectively just, sort of hire only males. Yeah, and only when the media made like a huge fuss about it, they stopped it. But before that, it was just going on. But yeah, like I just want to come back very quickly to the CEOs. So the cool thing about having the tools now to replace some of the functions of CEOs is that, well, if we look at the day of the CEO in current conditions, then about 2/3 of the time of the CEOs, and I can say that I'm a good example as an executive director of this. 2/3 of the time is meetings, personal communication. So you have either face-to-face meetings or you have online meetings. And then you have about 20, so like let's just say 60% of the time you are doing the meetings. This is kind of best case scenario. Some people have more. Like 24% or something like this is electronic communication, so emails. And then it's, commuting, very little personal time. So your alone ideation time when you're actually working on some cool ideas is only 4% of your time. And so what we've done in the recent project, we were trying to basically encourage CEOs to use some automation. And we try to automate emails, we try to automate memos, and we try to automate meetings. And the largest effect we received was from trying to automate meetings. So when we actually decrease, so how there is this joke about this meeting should have been an email. Yeah. So when we actually substituted a portion of like really boring and mundane meetings with emails, we managed to increase this ideation time for CEOs from 4% to about 10. And that's great because this is where CEO is most efficient. Like they need to be thinking ahead, right? They need to be living in the future and setting up the cool goals for organization.
It's a very good point, because today, especially for those companies who have dispersed workforce, most of which works remotely, on the one hand, it feels like to manage people, to control people, you need to communicate with them more. This weekly supervising meetings, one-to-ones, like project discussions, I mean, whatever. So basically it happened that people mostly meet and actually they have less time to deliver something. And it happens not only with CEOs. I think maybe my guess that it came with a pandemic and remote work and work from office, from home. But mostly it's a big problem with this 4 and 10%. So I hope this research you're doing and this digital twin simulation then can help CEOs, even those 4%, to use more productively. Because if you have, your own like buddy to strategize with, who knows a lot about your company, your market, it would be much more effective time spending on ideation than when you're just doing it alone and you have only 4% of the time. And basically you're exhausted because communication takes a lot of energy.
Yeah, but I also think it's like, I think that you are absolutely right on the money there with the pandemic effects, because, previously to be visible in an organization, you just needed to do some good work, right? So you did good work, you did one presentation in a quarter, you can justify return on investment into your department, that was good. But now it seems to be like there are a lot of these idiotic meetings where people just like pretend like that, that there is activity. So they make a lot of appearance of the activity when activity doesn't actually happen. So like it's in in my organization, there are definitely people who do that as well. So, and basically it's just, I think, to create visibility, right? The visibility of work, because you are not observed anymore in the office. Like no one can see that you are at your desk 9 to 5. You need to create this visibility of work. So lots of people, they actually like do that. They just schedule meeting for the sake of a meeting. And yeah, like it's really great to have tools to basically replace. So yeah, what we did, we actually looked at several CEOs who let us look at their schedules, and we figured out that some of the meetings are really not necessary. Like they would have these meetings every week, and we can just cut this meeting. We can just say like this meeting shouldn't be happening, and that gives frees up the space for the CEO for like at least half a day a week to think about cool stuff. Because like as a CEO, you don't need to make a lot of decisions. You don't need to make a cool decision every week. You can make like one cool decision every 5 years, but you need thinking time for it, right? Like you will not be able to do this thinking if you don't have time, if you have to spend it all in meetings. Yeah, but I can tell you, like from my personal experience, the way I do it, for example, team meetings. Instead of having a bunch of meetings one-on-one with many people, I have one team meeting, and instead of shiny present, no one is allowed a presentation. So everyone has to do a 3-minute update. So it's like a 3-minute thesis competition. Like you basically have to say what you've been working on the week before and what you're concentrating on this week, right? And that just cuts to the chase. Like there is full visibility. Everyone knows what everyone else is doing. People kind of engage with others and all of that. But yeah, look, you can also automate a lot of the things. Like for example, we automate in the institute, we automate our reporting. There is a monthly report, so people just fill out a simple form and it generates the written report. So like we can have monthly reports without much of the human sort of touch. And that's great because
and even generate internal newsletter out of it or any kind of like partnership newsletter. Yeah. So it can save a lot of time. And here I jump into the next question, actually, how we met each other. So it seems like AI can help a lot to C-level executives, sales, founders. But on the other hand, it seems like AI can cause much more burnout than those guys were experienced in previous year. Because today everyone needs to understand, okay, what's my AI strategy? Do I need AI? Do I need Gen AI or I need machine learning? How I need to store my data? I mean, different kind of like strategic, operational stuff, how I will encourage my team to actually collaborate with AI, because you can have the best possible Gen AI model or ML model, but if your team doesn't want to contribute to it and help to train it, nothing will happen. and people are afraid because they're afraid of losing their job. So it seems like, and with on top of that, we need have a lot of discussions to make this work inside of organizations. So what are your thoughts here? So can AI boost, or AI could help with this burnout because it can analyze your schedule, help you to have some kind of focus time, and maybe pinpoint the unnecessary meetings from your calendar when they just came up, so you don't even would know about it, but they would be eliminated. So
yeah, so I think I think there are two aspects here. Like on the positive side, like I said, yes, you can totally automate a lot of your emails. So like for example, you can train a machine learning algorithm on all your emails, and I bet like 90% of everything that's going out to the outside world from the organization is probably like very similar stuff. Like it's probably just, can you tell us about your services? How do you engage? All of these types of things. So you can train it on your internal data. You can train machine learning algorithm on your internal data, and it can just generate automatic replies. And you can just have, I don't know, one member of staff who is maybe admin officer or something sending these emails, like with some vetting, like they can have a look at it before they send it. I just want to kind of touch on the dangers and on the risks. Okay, so I think the main problem is really something that was defined by one of my colleagues, Deborah Webster, as informational pollution, right? So, you can actually observe it really clearly from movies. Try to watch a movie from 1930s or like 1950s. It will be very long, right? You will be like, oh, get to the point already. Like, what happened here? Did these guys get married or not, right? So currently, like, people want the information quicker, and because information is really packed, like it's very it's very condensed, like you get a lot of you just get an informational overload every day as an executive and as a head of department, like if you are in any managerial position, because the information not only comes to you, it comes very quickly. And now with the generative AI tools, where even people who couldn't write an email before, they will write you a long email, and it probably will make some sense. So you need to devote time to sort of sort all these requests, and so I think it's just a volume and the quality of comms that really, with the development of AI, that are bombarding the managers, that are a problem. And you basically become overwhelmed, because it's not like someone could give you highlights of of the emails. So you need to sort of still sit through, and you will not be able to like load every single email into, I don't know, ChatGPT and say, give me one sentence synopsis of this email. So I think that's the main problem. And another problem is really the addiction to, it's more like, it's not really my area. I probably want to talk to cognitive psychologist people. So they are very good at this. So like, addiction to cell phones, like, when you wake up, the first thing you do, you probably check your email, and the last thing you see is probably your phone, because like you're still doing something online at night. So and it's more like a kind of generational and maybe kind of time problem, right? So people do not switch off really from the devices, and so like the combination of these two things is kind of both psychological and kind of functional, right? That you need to get the information. So we always talk about this right to switch off. Like, it's a big thing in my organization, for example, the right to switch off. But can you really switch off? I'm not sure, because if if this kind of avalanche of information is constantly sort of coming at you every day, it's very difficult to, I think, switch off properly and do some soul searching or ideation. I recently was in rural Australia, and on the train kind of back from Orange to Sydney, I met a guy who was a CEO of a company, and he went for 2-day happiness workshop or something in regional Australia. But basically, like, he was in a place where there's no internet, like he could not like literally switch any device on, and like no devices are allowed. Like you have to like leave everything behind and go there. And he said like, oh, it was like the best time of my life because like, I didn't see a cell phone in 2 days. So that was brilliant. Yeah, but then you come back to it, and then there will be like 700 emails, right? And did this like workshop achieve what you wanted to do? I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah, maybe any kind of like AI personal assistants, copilots can help you with this as well. Because recently you wrote also about AI coaches, that technology which is evolving now, like life coaches, wellness coaches. So those kind of model that could know a little bit about your regarding the data you have provided and about people like you, so they could suggest you something, they could train you, but people may become very dependent on it because it's easy to use technology. When you work with actual therapists, you need to come to the office, or you need to schedule a meeting, you need to make a payment. I mean, a lot of effort, which makes this work actually rewarding. So you can actually change your behavior and improve some habits you would like to improve. But with these AI copilots, they may be so easy to use that you become very dependent on it. But maybe on the other hand, it helps you to have more time for strategy than ideation, family, friends, whatever, just basically because of going through your mail and by deleting all the spam and promotion, which you're not interested in. Actually, it also takes like 20 minutes per day at least. And if you have a couple of emails like personal and corporate, so you spend like 40 minutes a day, for example, to just clean your email box because we have too much information today. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so in terms of the assistance, so yeah, like I think the general point, and this is kind of when, when we are doing consultancy projects and someone asks like, is my job at risk? Like this is the most common question, I guess, that we get in consultancy projects. I normally say to people that if you can very precisely describe what you are doing, then you are at risk. So if you can like step by step explain, okay, I come, at 9 o'clock in the morning, blah, 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 do this, this, and this, and this, and you can very clearly say what you're doing, then you're probably replaceable by algorithm. If you cannot do that, which I think most executives or managers cannot, so there is a huge cultural and social component of the job that is very difficult to replace. So I think, then you're safe. But then it comes to your point, like what do you automate? You can only automate the portion that you can clearly describe, right? So if you know that, okay, I'm going to 100% get emails from customers just asking for a booklet, you probably can automate that function. So if you see an email that says, oh, can you send me more information about your services? Say like, yeah, sure, here you go, and the algorithm can do this for you. But if there is a customer that says, oh, can you come to a meeting with us? We need your consultancy services here. Can you help with this, and this? We have problem such and such. Like if it's more detailed, then it should be outsourced to a human specialist, obviously, because the algorithms are great, but remember, algorithms need to either maximize or minimize something. So that's how they work. So they don't work like human beings. They can fake associative thinking like ChatGPT does, but it's not real associative thinking, right? It's just an imitation of it. Unless you can tell what the function is, you cannot really run it efficiently, and you can only tell the algorithm what the function is if you have data and lots of it, right? So that's the main point. So if you don't have a lot of data on something, don't automate it. It will be a disaster.
And just to sum up, because we're at the end of our time, so last question. So it seems like AI is a very powerful thing, which is pretty obvious, but it's also very demanding and it has a lot of risks. But despite of this, the most brightest minds across the globe working hard to find different kind of AI technology implementation across industries, specifics, and whatever. what is their motivation? Because it seems like it's some kind of dangerous thing which may have benefits, may not, and it has a lot of risk. And actually, your own job could be replaced in the future. So there is some kind of probability for this to happen. But still, people are working hard and they're very passionate to drive this technology further. Why people are so passionate about driving those kind of technologies further to actually change the future, change how we work, how we spend our time, how we collaborate?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I think it's an excellent question, but I think it's also, let me just maybe calm everyone down in terms of like, don't worry, we will survive. So the humanity survive. This is already the fourth industrial revolution that we are surviving. We will survive it. There will be a different sort of ways in which we will communicate to algorithms, but generally, people previously, in automation, in industrial revolution 3.0, people looked at automated at machines, at automation, and they would say, okay, if we wanted to, we could shut these machines down, right? But now, like, we might not have that power. Well, to be honest, and so they think that they have this control, but it's an illusion of control, because we are already very dependent on technology as it is. So if like we switch off everything that dependent on technology today, we would not be here today. So we are really dependent. So I think it's a good thing to embrace the fact that we are dependent and to start thinking like, what are the ways for us, the best ways for us to collaborate with machines. And in terms of your point about, it might be dangerous. Well, technology is a tool, right? So it's same as a knife, right? You can use a knife to prepare the most fabulous dishes in a Michelin restaurant, and you can use the same knife to kill somebody. It's a tool. It only depends on how you use it. So there will always be risks. It doesn't matter whether it's AI or not AI. As a tool, it always will have dangers and it always have benefits. But not thinking in terms of how it can progress our thinking, I think, would be not an optimal strategy for humanity. We need to understand how we can build these algorithms on human values so that they are serving us, not the other way around.
It's a good point, and it's a huge amount of discussion related to this topic, because it's also about creative copyrights. It's about decision making. It's about embedding AI in different kind of like government services. I mean, there's a huge discussion because, yeah, actually, maybe values. If we could find some way how to embed humanity values in the heart of AI, it would be much easier to have some trust here, because you understand that it's going to be less harm here, because AI as an algorithm doesn't have any kind of feelings. So basically it's just a mess, complicated mess, but still mess behind. So
Yeah.
I mean, if you come into trolley problem or any kind of, this philosophical problem, so AI would have an answer to this definitely, and maybe this answer won't be widely appreciated among the humans, because it doesn't take into account any kind of like values, levels, society, and all of this.
Well, there are people who do work on embedding human values into algorithms, so like my institute included. So we do this type of work, but generally, I think that the only way to do it successfully is to bring different opinions to the table. So not only data scientists should be working on algorithms, it should be philosophers, ethicists. Like, for example, in AI and Cyber Futures Institute, we have technical team who are just, basically very technical people. But we also have behavioral scientists, we have lawyers, we have ethicists, we have a philosopher. So who kind of, we are all discussing normally, how do we make this thing work? And he would come and say, should I be nice to Siri? And everyone is suddenly thinking, yeah, really, you can be really rude to a Siri, like it shouldn't make a difference, But this variety of opinions really contributes to the fact that you are developing algorithms that are based on human values and incorporates, major human rights, for example, into the design. So yeah, I mean, the only way to do it is to invite everyone to the discussion table, not just saying, okay, these technical people work on algorithms and we as lawyers and ethicists will police it and tell, okay, this algorithm is wrong, this algorithm is right. Instead, like at the design stage, we need to have these discussions, and we do. Like we always ask our ethics and legal team, our responsible AI team, whether we are like, is this algorithm responsible? Is it ethical? Like, what are the potential dangers? What are the potential risks? Because, when Facebook was created, I bet no one could envisage that it would become a major problem for democracy, for example, right? So there are many issues there. But you need to think about it. And, if you have more people who can help you think about it, you become a better developer of algorithms.
So basically, if you want AI to help you to run your business, you need to provide it with relevant data, and you need to bring different kind of people from your team to discussion how actually to embed AI, where embed AI. So it could act based on your company corporate values as well, take into account not only business KPIs, but maybe some employee engagement stuff, relations, and all of this. So basically, it's manageable. It's a good sign.
Yeah, that's right. And also your mission, right? So, for example, we did at one point the study on inclusion. And we found that organizations who did not have like inclusion anywhere in the documents, but their mission was to deliver value to all humans, not just their customers, they generally were more inclusive and would be more likely to be highly ranked as inclusive organizations. So it's similar with algorithms. If you are inclusive at the start, when you are building systems, when you're building automation systems, you will end up with more ethical algorithms and less risk or lower risk in different functions that these algorithms are trying to support.
And how it is going to work? It's because of this diversity of opinion we had at the first place, or because of we like more arrange more siloed work, or how it works?
Yeah, I mean, I can give you maybe a specific example so that we're not talking about some hypothetical things here. Yeah, so for example, at one point I was working with one of my colleagues on an algorithm for food banks. So we thought that, okay, let's create an algorithm that will on an app tell people where they can get food, around London, like what is the best way of going about, getting support and all of this. And you would have thought this is like really benign type of algorithm, right? Really great stuff. And then we talked to an ethicist in the team at Alan Turing, and she said, have you considered that you're basically just creating more dependencies for these people? So instead of like trying to find a job or trying to think like, how to get out of this situation, maybe elevate, maybe do some maybe engage in some education, change their outcomes. They will just be chasing food through different food banks. But this is like the type of thinking that we didn't have like when we started the project, and it's an example of how like you as a by bringing a philosopher or an ethicist or someone who just thinks outside the box, right, who's not from your field, can completely turn the whole project around and say, okay, well, you need to think about these things when you're creating this app or this solution or this AI algorithm.
Yeah, I think it's amazing because it may balance things so they won't be so selfish and KPI and revenue driven, maybe only, at least.
Yeah, I mean, there is still obviously the consideration of return on investment, and AI still has to deliver on all the investment that it received. So this is a valid argument, but I think that it definitely there's basically some degree of decision superiority that AI can bring to organization if it's if it's used in responsible way. But yeah, the first question that any organization should be asking: can this algorithm hurt anybody, right? And if you ask that question, you start thinking in that direction. And if your answer is unlikely, and we have procedures, and we know who takes responsibility at different points, at different turning points of development of this algorithm, then you're likely to have very robust risk metrics for a particular algorithm and for a particular AI driven tool. When you don't have that, when you're not thinking in that direction, then it becomes a problem.
Yeah, so you should take this into account and keep it in mind, I mean, constantly, because the technology is evolving, the attitude to technology is evolving, data is evolving. So I think it should be on a regular basis inside your organization as well. I mean, we all have quarter business review, so we need to have some kind of algorithm bias review or something like this.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's not, there is a much bigger problem. I know we're almost out of time, but yeah, I just want to say that, there is a problem with expertise, right? So the large corporates struggle to have, I don't know, I know that there are in US now it's mandatory, you have to have chief AI officer who is looking at the risk all the time. So it's like another compliance officer there. But SMEs normally have very little, ability to do that. But I'm just, what I'm trying to say, if you are an SME, don't worry about the fact that you don't have a lawyer or you don't have a philosopher to talk to. Well, get yourself go out and get a philosopher from university and just say, look, this is what we're doing. Well, get them to sign an NDA first. That's very important. But you can say to them, this is what we're doing. What are your thoughts on the risk? And I bet, for example, you can leverage academic expertise. So you can leverage some expertise from public organizations, in I think in the UK we have the Open Data Institute that provides some advice on these types of things. So yeah, you can leverage a lot of the free things that are available and substitute the lack of the expertise with something like that. And then you just need to have a plan. So having a plan is much better than not having a plan. So what if your algorithm goes rogue, right? What are you going to do? Just thinking about it and having something in your strategy that some process that triggers the chain of events in case something bad happens is already better than, you will already be better than, I don't know, 80% of organizations in the world, because most of organizations in the world, they don't have this thinking, and they're not even looking in that direction. So I really suggest that look in this direction and try to have a strategy for AI failure. If AI doesn't work or automation doesn't work, what are you going to do? And if you have the procedure for this, then you will already be feeling much more confident if something happens, in case something happens.
Amazing. So we're almost running out of time, and just to sum up, what would be your maybe one recommendation for a company which struggles or still thinking about starting their AI journey?
Yeah, what I want to say, don't stress about it because uh, most of the time, many organizations cannot do generative AI. Many organizations cannot do AI. They cannot even do data science, and they still do simple statistical models, or even calculate something in the Excel sheet. And maybe that's enough for your organization. Try to embrace technology and see whether it really generates value for your organization. And if it doesn't, it's probably whatever you're doing with your analytics might be already enough, so you don't have to do it. So AI is a cool, buzzword, but, if it doesn't bring value, then you probably don't need it. But if you do want to think in that direction, there really is huge opportunity here, and I would encourage to think in both benefits and risks at the same time. And yeah, just try. I'd say just try.
Thank you so much, Hannah. It was an amazing hour we spent together. And just to sum up, I think it's a very cool point which you told us at the very end, that AI is not necessary for everyone, but you definitely need to try and understand how it can benefit your organization or you personally. So don't rely on AI too much. Don't become dependent on it, and have strategies in case of AI will fail. So you won't be just blind when it's happened. And try to make ethical AI, so bring diverse perspective and opinions to your table and to your model. Use ethics, philosophy, psychology, or anything you can have access to make it more in accordance to the value of your organization and humanity values. In this case, probably you will have less risks, and it would be more beneficial to your organization and your organization reputation at the end of the day.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And thanks for the opportunity. And I just want to thank everyone who joined or who will be listening to the podcast later. Thank you.
Thank you so much for everyone who was joining us live or going to watch us later. It was an amazing time. And thank you so much, Ganna, for your time.